Hi, it's Mia again. I am back with another video. This time it is The Little Mermaid. So I thought today I would dress in some special attire for the occasion because it's a very good book and I love it. So let's get started, shall we? This one does have pictures at some point, but I'm not going to show them right away yet until we get there. Alright, The Little Mermaid. Not everyone believes in mermaids. A lot of landlubbers think that the very idea is fishy. But those who spend time at sea know better. They know that the ocean is deep and that it holds many secrets. Down below the waves live other creatures. Creatures who know as little about us as we do about them. It is not often that the two worlds meet. This story starts out at sea with sailors on a ship. The day was blustery and the ocean was choppy. Rough waves tossed the ship to and fro, and the sailors rushed around the deck, battening down hatches and tightening rigging. As they worked, they sang a sea chanty. The words told of a kingdom at the bottom of the sea. A mer-kingdom, they called it. A kingdom with mermaids and mermen. The sailors sang their song for a special passenger, Prince Eric. It was the prince's 18th birthday. Prince Eric rushed about the deck, helping the sailors any way he could. "Isn't this great?" he said. "The salty sea air, the wind at your face, a perfect day to be at sea." "Aye, that is, lad," smiled the sailor working beside him. Eric's dog, Max, jumped up to help too. Max was a big, woolly sheepdog, and he loved the sea as much as his master did. Across the deck, though, there was someone who did not look so happy. This was Sir Grimsby, Eric's guardian. Sir Grimsby was feeling seasick. He leaned against the ship's rail. His face was pale and he clutched his stomach loosely. One of the sailors took a big, hearty breath. "A fine, strong wind and a following sea," he said. "King Triton must be in a friendly type mood." Eric looked up from his work. "King Triton?" he asked. "Why, the ruler of the mer people, lad," another sailor joined in. "Thought every good sailor knew all about him." "Mer people," laughed Grimsby, raising his head. "Eric, pay no attention to this nautical nonsense." "But it ain't nonsense," shouted one of the sailors. "It's the truth. There's a whole world of mer people under the sea." "King Triton is the ruler," said another. "He's got 7 fair daughters and a witch of a sister named Ursula." "Ursula?" asked Eric. "Evil and ugly and hungry for power," the sailors explained. "King Triton banished her off into exile, and there she lives now, just biding her time." Prince Eric and Sir Grimsby listened carefully while the sailors explained. They said that this evil witch, Ursula, was still scheming and plotting to overthrow King Triton. She wanted to be queen of the sea. Sir Grimsby backed up and slipped on the wet deck. He knocked against a barrel of fish. Splash! One of the fish wriggled free and flung itself overboard, escaping back to its briny home. Now we move on to chapter 2. The humans weren't the only ones celebrating that day. That day was also a special day in the kingdom of the mer people. Below the hull of the ship, deep down at the bottom of the ocean, mer people were streaming into a grand concert hall, taking their seats. The crowd watched the stage expectantly, hushed as a little seahorse swam out onto the stage and blew his trumpet. "His Royal Highness, King Triton," the seahorse announced. King Triton swam out onto the stage. He was a broad-chested merman with twinkling eyes and a long silver beard. The crowd waved and cheered. King Triton was a good king, and the mer people loved him. "Oof! Out of the way, man!" The small crab pushed his way past King Triton's guards. "My public awaits me," he said. This was Sebastian, the conductor for the concert. He swam out next to King Triton, flashed a big smile, and took his own bow. King Triton leaned over and whispered to the crab, "I'm looking forward to this performance, Sebastian. I know you won't let me down." "Ho ho, your majesty." Sebastian winked. "This will be the finest concert I have ever conducted. Your daughters, they will be spectacular." "Yes, especially my little Ariel," said the king. The concert was to be Ariel's debut. The king was especially proud of his youngest daughter. "Princess Ariel? She has the most beautiful voice of all." But under his breath he muttered, "If only she showed up for rehearsal once in a while." "What did you say?" King Triton asked sharply. "Ho ho, no problem, your majesty," Sebastian said sheepishly. "Ariel's debut will be perfect." With that, Sebastian slipped through the water and took his place at the conductor's stand. He raised his hands to signal the orchestra. The orchestra began playing as the music filled the hall and a great wash of bubbles flooded the stage. Behind the bubbles were 6 of King Triton's 7 daughters, all brightly costumed. Each was a polished performer. The sisters swam out in formation, and they began to dance and sing, and King Triton beamed proudly. "We are the daughters of Triton," they sang. "Our father that named us well." Each of the sister mermaids swam forward to introduce herself to the audience. "Aquata, Andrina," sang another. "Arista, Atina, Adela, Alana." As the sisters sang, a large clamshell rose up from the floor of the stage, and the sisters gathered around the shell. "And then there is the youngest in her musical debut," they sang. "Our 7th little sister, we're presenting her to you. To sing a song Sebastian wrote, her voice is like a bell." The sisters all smiled and extended their hands toward the shell to present their youngest sister. The shell began to open. "She's our little sister, Ari." And the sisters gasped. The shell was empty, and Sebastian looked frantically toward King Triton, and the king was red with anger. "Ariel!" The name echoed through the concert hall and out into the ocean depths. Ariel did not hear her father call her name. She was far away in another part of this ocean. I'm on chapter 3 now. She was playing with her friend, a plump fish named Flounder. The pretty young mermaid swam quickly through the water. Her full red hair trailed in the water behind her. "Ariel, wait for me," called Flounder. "Hurry up," Ariel called back. Ariel swam up to a large anchor that was lodged in the sand. Beyond the sand, the anchor was the wreckage of a large sunken ship. "There it is," she said. "Isn't it fantastic?" Flounder looked nervously around. He was not so sure he would call the wreck fantastic. The whole place looked kind of creepy to him. "Yeah, sure, it's great. Now let's get out of here." "I'm going inside," said Ariel, and she started to swim toward the wreck. "If you don't want to come, you can stay out here and watch for sharks." Flounder jumped at the word. "Sharks?" he cried. "Help!" "Don't be such a guppy," Ariel laughed. "I'm no guppy," said Flounder, and he swam quickly after his friend. The two squeezed through the narrow porthole of the sunken ship. Inside the ship, the water was dark and murky. Ariel swam up to a door. It was closed. She pried it open and swam through. Oh my gosh, she cried. Her eyes darted excitedly around the room. The room was filled with everyday objects from the human world, things that had been left there by the people who had once sailed the ship. "Have you ever seen anything so wonderful in your entire life?" Ariel cried. She picked up an old bent fork and looked at it lovingly. "Wow, cool. But what is it?" "I don't know," said Ariel, "but I bet Scuttle will." She stuffed it into a pouch that she carried outside the room. Something creaked. Flounder jumped at the sound. "What was that?" he said quickly. "Did you hear something?" Ariel was still sorting through her newfound treasures. She picked up an old pipe. She said, "I wonder what this one is." She slipped the pipe into her pouch, too. A dark shadow passed outside the cabin door. Flounder's eyes opened wide in fright. "Ariel?" he stuttered. "Will you relax?" Ariel said to her friend. "Nothing's going to happen." Flounder swam to the doorway and peered out cautiously. Just as he was about to poke his head out the door, a mouth snapped open on the other side of the door frame. The mouth was huge and had sharp, jagged teeth. "Ah!" Flounder screamed when he realized what it was. "Shark!" Flounder jumped back just as the shark's jaws snapped shut. Flounder and Ariel skittered through the ship back out through the porthole. They escaped the shark by mere inches. They streaked up through the ocean to the surface. When they had reached safety, Flounder stuck his tongue out and came back to the shark. "You big boy," he yelled. Ariel shook her head and laughed at her friend. "Flounder, you really are a guppy," she said. Now I'm on chapter 4. Ariel and Flounder floated at the surface of the water. Ariel was still clutching the pouch in which she had gathered her human treasures. "Scuttle," she called across the water. "Scuttle!" At the other end of the bay, perched on a rock, was a rather rumpled-looking seagull. He was singing to himself and peering through the wrong end of a telescope. "Whoa," he said as he caught sight of Ariel. "Mermaid off the port bow! Ariel, how you doing, kid?" Ariel glided over to her friend and reached into her pouch to show him her treasures. "Scuttle," she said excitedly, "look what we found." Scuttle peered into the bag. Human stuff, huh? He said. Hey, let me see. Scuttle pulled the bent fork out and examined it closely. Look at this, he said. Wow, this is special. This is very, very unusual. What is it? Asked Ariel. Scuttle seemed to know so much about humans and their ways, and Ariel believed every word he said. Scuttle held up the old fork. It's a dinglehopper, he said confidently. Humans use these little babies to straighten out their hair. See? You comb the tins of the fork through the soft feathers at the top of his head. Just a little twirl and a yank there, and his feathers spruced out into tight ringlets. You got yourself an aesthetically pleasing configuration of hair that humans go nuts over. Oh, like this? Asked Ariel. She combed the fork through her own hair. Hey, look at that, said Scuttle. If I didn't know better, I'd think I was conversing with a human being right now. Ariel turned the fork over in her hands. A dinglehopper, she said. What about this one? Flounder asked. He nodded towards the pipe Ariel had found. Now this I haven't seen in years, Scuttle said. This is wonderful. Scuttle turned the pipe over carefully. He didn't really have any idea what it was. It's a snarf flat, he replied. Ariel and Flounder leaned closer to listen to his explanation. Now, the snarf flat dates back to prehistorical times when humans used to sit around and stare at each other all day. It got very boring, so they invented this snarf flat to make fine music. He picked up the pipe by its stem and lifted it to his beak to demonstrate. Allow me, he said. Scuttle blew into the pipe and nothing happened. He blew harder and water spurted out of its bowl. Ariel's face turned pale. Music! Suddenly Ariel remembered something she had forgotten, something important. The concert, she cried. Oh my gosh, my father's going to kill me. Flounder looked at her in alarm. The concert was today? He asked. I'm sorry, I've got to go, cried Ariel. Thank you, Scuttle. Ariel waved a quick goodbye to her friend. Then, with her pouch in tow and Flounder at her tail, Ariel dove swiftly back down into the sea. As Ariel and Flounder hurried back home to the Mer Kingdom, they did not know that they were being watched. Ursula, the evil sea witch, was sitting on a giant shell, peering into her pool of light and watching their every move. Almost went chapter 5. Yes, hurry home, princess, she sneered. We wouldn't want to miss Daddy's little celebration now, would we? Ursula lowered her large, blubbery body off her shell and floated up, her tentacles wafting along behind her. Ha! She cried bitterly. They celebrate... While I waste away to practically nothing, look at me. Banished and exiled and practically starving. Well, I'll give that king something to celebrate soon enough. Flotsam, jetsam, she cried. Two mean-eyed eels slithered out at her call. I want you two to keep an extra close watch on this pretty little daughter of his. Ursula instructed. I may be able to use her. She may be the key to Triton's undoing. When Ariel arrived home, her father, the king, was waiting for her. I just don't know what we're going to do with you, young lady, he scolded. Daddy, I'm sorry, Ariel apologized. I just forgot Sebastian, the conductor, was angry at her too. The entire celebration was ruined, he shouted, completely destroyed. This concert was to be the pinnacle of my distinguished career. Now, thanks to you, I am the laughingstock of the entire kingdom. Flounder swam to his friend's side. But it wasn't her fault. See, first, this shark chased us, and then the seagull came. Seagull, boomed King Triton. You went up to the surface again, didn't you? Nothing happened, Ariel protested weakly. Ariel, the king, cut her off. How many times must we go through this? You have been seen by one of those barbarians, one of those humans. Oh, Daddy, cried Ariel, they're not barbarians, they are dangerous, shouted the king. Do you think I want to see my youngest daughter snared by some fish-eater's hook? I'm 16 years old, Ariel answered proudly. I'm not a child anymore. Don't you take that tone of voice with me, shouted her father. As long as you live under my ocean, you will obey my rules. But if you would just listen, pleaded Ariel. Not another word, said the king, and I am never to hear of you going to the surface again. Is that clear? Ariel whirled around in frustration and swam off in a huff to her room, said Sebastian, as he watched her leave. Teenagers, they think they know everything. King Triton only sighed. Do you think I was too hard on her, he asked. Definitely not, declared Sebastian. If Ariel were my daughter, I'd keep her under tight control. None of this flitting to the surface, other such nonsense. You're absolutely right, Sebastian, said the king. Ariel needs someone to keep her out of trouble. The king looked at Sebastian. And Sebastian, you are just the crab to do it, he said. The little crab jumped back in surprise. Him? Keep Ariel out of trouble? That was going to be a full-time job. And I'm going to end it on chapter 6 today, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will finish the rest of the book possibly tomorrow. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And thank you. Goodbye, guys.